In 2017, I was a 19-year-old college student living in a rundown rental house in Minnesota. Rent was cheap, and the house wasn't anything special. But it had character. Old floorboards, creaky stairs, a weird attic room that was locked from the outside, and a basement that always smelled damp. I didn't think much of it until the winter break. My roommates all went home for the holidays, and I decided to stay behind. I had work, and besides, I didn't mind being alone. It would give me a chance to get ahead on some assignments and relax. But the first night alone, things felt off. I didn't realize just how off it was until it was too late. Night 1. The first night was pretty uneventful. I made some food, watched a few episodes of a show, and went to bed around 2 a.m. Around 3:30 a.m., I woke up suddenly. At first, I wasn't sure why, but then I heard it. A thump. It was coming from above me. At first, I thought it was just a house settling, the creaking floors and the walls shifting. But then I heard it again. Thump, thump. This wasn't the house. These were footsteps. Heavy footsteps. I lay there, wide-eyed, trying to convince myself it was nothing. But after the third thump, I felt a cold sweat crawl over me. There was no one else in the house. So who? Night 2. The next day, I kept telling myself that I imagined it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone in the house. That night, I was on my way to bed when I noticed something strange. The attic door, which was always locked and bolted, was slightly ajar. I froze. The attic had always been off limits. There was nothing useful up there, just old junk. The door was never opened unless maintenance needed to access the roof. I quickly shut the door, chalking it up to my imagination. But that night, I barely slept. The creaking returned, and this time, it wasn't just footsteps. It was dragging. Slow, deliberate dragging. It sounded like something heavy being pulled across the floor above me. But when I checked, no one was there. Night 3. I thought maybe it was just the old house making noises. But when I woke up at around 2:30 a.m., there was something I couldn't explain. The air vent in my bedroom started making a strange noise. At first, it sounded like wind, but then it became something else. Something wet. Breathing. It was slow, deliberate, and rasping. I got out of the bed and checked the house, but everything was locked. The attic door was shut tight again. The living room was empty. No windows were open. I even checked under the bed, and there was nothing. Yet, the sound of breathing continued from the vent. It felt like something was in the walls. Night 4. By now, I wasn't sleeping. I had to figure out what was going on. I borrowed a cheap security camera from a friend and set it up in the hallway, aimed directly at the attic door. The footage was set to record overnight. The next morning, I reviewed it. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the attic door opened by itself. I saw the shadows of feet stepping out, but nothing was visible clearly. Then a tall, thin figure moved across the hallway, heading toward my bed. It was a strange shape, like a person, but not quite. Its body seemed wrong. The figure stopped right outside my bedroom. There was no sound, no breathing, just a dark, distorted silhouette. It didn't move for a long time, and then it finally stepped backward into the attic. The door shut quietly behind it. I checked my locks, double-checked everything. but I couldn't get rid of the feeling that someone or something was in the house with me. Night 5. That night, I couldn't stop feeling like I was being watched. The shadows in the corners of my eyes seemed to move. I started noticing small things missing. A sock, a spoon from the kitchen, my favorite hoodie. I couldn't remember taking them anywhere, and nobody else was in the house. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. As I walked past the bathroom mirror, I caught a glimpse of something behind me. A face. It wasn't mine. It was pale, gaunt, and grinning. It wasn't a reflection of me. The figure had hollow eyes and an open mouth, frozen in a wide smile. The second I turned around, it was gone. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. Every little noise made me jump. Night 6. I had enough. The next day, I called the landlord. He told me there was no one else with access to the attic. The maintenance team had the key, and they hadn't been in there in weeks. I also called the police to report the strange happenings. 2 officers came out to investigate. They searched the entire house, checked the attic, and found something I hadn't seen before: a mattress. Hidden in the far corner of the attic, there were bottles of water, food wrappers, and something else: a notebook. The notebook was filled with scribbled notes, but the most chilling part was what was written on the last page. 317. Always 317. They didn't find anything else, but they agreed it was likely a squatter. Someone had been living in the attic and moving through the house without my knowledge. They promised to send someone to change the locks and secure the windows, and then they left. I tried to sleep that night, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. I wasn't alone. Night 7. That night, the air in my room was thick. The temperature had dropped. I kept hearing creaking, but this time it felt different, like someone was pacing in the hallway. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up to a sound that made my heart stop. Heavy breathing. But this time, it was coming from inside my bedroom closet. I froze. I grabbed my phone, but there was no signal. I picked up the baseball bat and I kept next to my bed, stood up slowly and crept toward the closet door. When I opened it, there was nothing inside, but the back panel had been removed, and behind it, there was a crawl space leading directly into the attic. I didn't wait to investigate further. I grabbed what I could and left the house. I didn't stop running until I was in my car, driving away. The next day, I came back to collect my things. But when I checked my security camera footage one last time, there was a final recording I hadn't seen. It showed the attic door opening. The figure stepped out. This time, it wasn't just standing in the hallway. It walked straight toward my bedroom. And just before the camera cut off, the figure leaned forward into the lens, grinning wide. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide, as if its face had been deformed. That night, I moved out. I left everything behind. Months later, in my new apartment, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. The front door was wide open. I haven't slept right since.